Hello, happy people. I hope that you are having just one of the best days in your life today. Today we're going to be taking another little look at Lord Dunsany. Today we're going to be taking a look at the short story, The Sword of Welleran. It's a fantasy short story set in another world. It kind of feels like it's set in our world and kind of feels like it's set in one of the dreamlands that Lord Dunsany will transport you to. But it doesn't really have a lot of specific setup in the settings. So you never know for sure like where it's fully set up. That's fine. I don't mind too much. I'm going to be giving this an 8 out of 10. Dunsany can sometimes be a slower, fast paced writer at the beginning, but then he picks up steam. But this short story I felt started off very nice, very quickly. I was really engaged in the first paragraph, and I think that's to this story's credit. I think Lord Dunsany does a good job with it. As a reminder, Lord Dunsany is an ancient Irish guy who was writing at the turn of the century, of the last century, before and after 1900. And his most famous work is probably The Gods of Pagano, which I've reviewed for you. I've also reviewed for you The King of Belsun's Daughter and a few other stories for him here and there. And I picked up his Penguin Classics collection with a lot of his collected stuff in it. And we've been doing a deep dive into it. And this is the second short story I have reviewed for you from this collection. He is a dense writer. Probably takes me about 2 minutes a page for me to write these big, giant, oversized pages. So it probably took me about 30 minutes or so. I think it was actually a little less, like more like 27 minutes or 28 minutes for me to knock out this 15-page short story. I'll link you to this collection in case you're interested in picking up the Penguin Classics collection and reading along with me. I'll also link you to this online so you can just read it for free. Whatever your brothers, no issues, no concerns. But basically what's going to wind up happening, we're going to be set in this city. And this city is the key place. And we're going to be introduced into the history of this city. And this city used to be a city that lived and died and ruled by the sword. But the people that live there today have lost that warrior's mentality. They celebrate their heroes. They don't, and they venerate them. They have statues to them, but they don't have. They're not fighters themselves. Their town's guards fall asleep while they're on duty each night, and that sort of a thing. But the nearby tribesmen are kept at bay by the mythology of their heroes. They think their heroes are still alive, and so out there actively protecting this place, even though the youngest of their heroes, Imrith, he passed away more than 100 years before this story is taking place. Anyway, time has begun to decay the ancient city that this place is set in. We'll spend some time focusing on the city. We'll spend some time focusing on the heroes and the history. We'll also be introduced to a couple of major characters, in particular this boy who's really interested and loves his history. And then in order to find out whether or not the heroes are actually dead, one of the nearby tribes decides to send in a couple of prisoners that are on death row and says, you guys will be freed if you go and find out what's happening. So they decide to go and check it out. And then they said, so they're starting to explore what's actually happening within the city itself. And that begins sort of the major plot points of what's going to wind up happening with this short story. And that's probably about 5 or 6 pages into a 15-page short story. So I'll go ahead and leave you there with my synopsis. So I did enjoy this short story. It was very well written, very well done. Again, it was a fast grabber. I was definitely in from the beginning, from the word go. Whereas sometimes Dunsany can be a little denser to get started with. Although, to be fair, that might be because I'm getting more and more into a Dunsany style of reading. He has a very dense, different style of writing that's very different than other writers. So you definitely, and this is now my 6th or 7th short story that I've read for him in the last week. A few of them were from a collection that I have not yet reviewed for you called Time and the Gods, which I own. So I'm getting more and more to the Dunsany state of mind. So perhaps that's why I found it a faster read, but it's probably just a story. The Sword of Welleran is a faster pickup, and I enjoyed it better than the previous story that I reviewed for you, The Fall of Babylon, which was more of a 7.5, 8 out of. This is more of an 8 proper, 8 out of 10. It's definitely the stronger story of the two that I've read, that I've reviewed for you. But there you go. I'll go ahead and leave you to it. Have you read The Sword of Welleran? What did you think of it? Did you agree or disagree with my take in any way, shape, or form? I would be more than happy to engage with it further in the comments below. If you like this video, hey, why not hit that subscribe button? Because there's going to be a lot more of these to follow in fantasy, like this one, science fiction, and horror. And then finally, hey, I want to thank you so much for taking some time out of your day and investing it and watching my video. We all have so many things that are happening in our lives, right? And we're pulled in so many different directions. So the fact that you spent this time with me is incredibly humbling, and I appreciate it. So thanks again, and have a great day.